And I utterly condemn the violence that we've seen overnight in Ballymena and in other parts of Northern Ireland.
114 injuries, 37 hotels burned, over 100,000 protesters on the streets of Northern Ireland. For 3 nights, the Union Jack has glowed in flames instead of light. 8:42 p.m, November 5th, 2025. Belfast city centre. Police sirens bleed through the rain. Shop fronts crack. Bottles arc across the air. What began as a march for answers has turned into Britain's largest civil disturbance in more than a decade. The targets are the migrant hotels, symbols in the public mind of a government that built compassion out of contracts. Footage shows lines of riot shields outside the High Street Hotel Belfast, once a shelter for 230 asylum seekers, now engulfed in orange heat. Local firefighters report 19 separate arsons in 24 hours. Derry, Lisburn, Ballymena. Every name is now a headline. "You promised security," a man shouts toward the cameras, voice breaking through smoke. "You gave us silence." Across the UK, more than 100,000 people have taken to the streets. Belfast, Londonderry, Antrim, even Newcastle in County Down, all chanting the same line. Where is Westminster? The government has not yet answered. Inside the Commons, lights burn late, but words come slowly. The Home Secretary calls the violence contained unrest. The opposition calls it collapse. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is scheduled to address the nation at dawn. But for millions of Britons watching their screens tonight, dawn feels like an alibi, not a solution. On Sky News, anchors read casualty numbers like clock ticks. 114 injured, 27 police hospitalised, 37 hotels damaged, £68 million in property losses. Economists warn that if the riots spread to mainland ports, logistics routes to Liverpool and Glasgow could cease within 48 hours. At 9 p.m, an encrypted memo leaks from the Home Office. Northern Command overstretched. Reserve units requested. Political approval pending. That approval never came. At the edge of the crowd, a young nurse named Sophie McAllister holds up her phone, live streaming the chaos. "This is my street," she says quietly. "My rent went up 41% this year, and they tell me there's no funding left. But there's funding for this." Her video racks up 3.2 million views in 6 hours. If you're watching this now, you've seen the footage too. What you're seeing isn't just protest, it's exhaustion. 10:27 p.m. The first wave hits the Stormont Parliament grounds. Barricades collapse. Police deploy tear gas for the first time since 2013. Reporters describe the sound as a heartbeat of panic. From London, Downing Street releases a 3-sentence statement. The Prime Minister condemns violence. Public safety remains our priority. Dialogue must continue. But dialogue ended when the first hotel fell. Behind closed doors, the intelligence briefings are grim. MI5's regional desk lists 52 online channels coordinating real-time crowd movements. Encrypted, shifting by the minute. Police drones jammed twice. Cellular towers burned in Coleraine. An internal line from the Cabinet Office reads, "Containment impossible." Public mood volatile. At 11 p.m, energy traders flag anomalies. Oil depots in Belfast and Larne report blockade attempts. By midnight, fuel distribution across Northern Ireland drops 19%. Hospitals switch to backup generators, and still, Westminster sleeps. Across social media, one phrase trends above all, #BritainOnFire. Within 12 hours, it hit 64 million impressions, eclipsing even the 2024 general election. Clips of riot officers kneeling in front of crowds go viral with captions like, "We serve the people, not the politicians." By dawn, the question is no longer who started the fire, but who benefits from the smoke. In the morning briefing, a senior advisor warns, "If we call it terrorism, we criminalise half the country. If we don't, we lose control of the rest." The Prime Minister says nothing. Cabinet sources say he looks pale, eyes fixed on the screen showing Belfast in flames. Meanwhile, analysts report an 8% drop in consumer confidence, £1.2 billion wiped from retail markets, and a 46% surge in flight bookings from Belfast to Dublin. When citizens start fleeing their own country for a weekend of peace, you know the numbers are more than statistics, they're a diagnosis. In Lisburn, a crowd of thousands forms around the ruins of the King's Crown Hotel. The building had hosted 112 migrants, funded by the Home Office at a rate of £189 per head per night. That contract was worth £7.8 million a year. Now it's ash. An elderly veteran named Thomas Reed walks past the debris with a flag over his shoulders. "I fought for this country," he tells reporters, "but I don't recognise it anymore." The clip runs on every network by evening. Commentators call it the moment Britain saw its reflection. Viewers across the UK scroll through their feeds, silent. Maybe you are one of them right now. If you're watching, hit like so this story reaches beyond the algorithm, because truth travels only when you push it forward. 11:55 a.m, November 6th, Westminster. The Prime Minister steps to the podium. He reads from a sheet of paper titled National Stability Address. "My government condemns the violence in Northern Ireland and reaffirms our commitment to unity." No mention of migrant contracts. No mention of MI5 warnings. Just the rhythm of political tranquilizers. Reporters shout questions. "Will you suspend the asylum hotel programme? Will you visit Belfast?" He turns away. The broadcast ends in silence, but outside the noise is still growing. By nightfall, the numbers become unreal. 142 injured, 53 arrested, £91 million in damage. Emergency rooms overflow. Police morale drops 29%. Public trust in government plummets to 22%, a record low. Foreign press labels it the Starmer collapse. In Brussels, one diplomat says, off record, Britain used to export stability. Now it exports chaos. As midnight returns to Belfast, rain starts to fall over charred streets. Civilians sweep the pavement, collecting glass and ash into buckets. Someone hangs a sign over a burned-out door. Home once, hope again. The camera pulls back. No music, just the hum of a city trying to breathe. From Ballymena to Belfast, from Lisburn to Londonderry, every image tells the same story. A government out of touch, a nation out of patience, and a people who refuse to stay silent. So, Britain, what happens next? Is this a riot or a reckoning? Tell us in the comments below. Your voice is the only thing still uncensored. And for those who still believe truth matters, subscribe and turn on the bell, because silence wins only when you stop listening. Yet beneath the smoke and sirens, there is something else. Something Britain has always carried, even in its darkest hours. In the back streets of Belfast, strangers who stood on opposite sides hours earlier are now passing blankets through broken windows. A young migrant woman, still trembling from the fire, helps an old man lift his fallen signboard back into place. No cameras, no slogans, no orders. Just people doing what governments forgot how to do. Care. At a small church near Donegal Square, volunteers light candles for the injured, Catholic, Protestant, immigrant and local. Each flame small, stubborn, equal. The city, for all its pain, still remembers how to hold itself together when no one else will. A teacher named Aileen writes on the wall of a burned hotel, "Forgiveness builds what fury burns." Within hours, her message spreads across social feeds, shared more than any riot clip. Because deep down, even in the roar of collapse, people recognise what really matters. Not who we blame, but what we become after. Britain is a nation born from reconstruction. Rubble to roof, war to welfare, silence to song. Maybe tonight's fire is not the end of something, but the beginning of a question we've ignored for too long. How much anger does it take to remember empathy? The flames will die out, the buildings will rise again, but the lesson written in Belfast smoke will remain. That strength isn't control, it's compassion that survives the chaos. This is Brit Alert News. If you stand for truth, stay with us, because Britain has just opened its eyes.